Hello, my name is Daniel Mart back again, and I am an actor and filmmaker based out of South Florida. And this week, I want to discuss basically my journey as an actor. June 2024 basically marks my 10-year anniversary, so to speak, of me pursuing acting. Simple as that. And how do I know it's June? Basically, I took a summer camp 10 years ago, around June, and they actually still have some of the photos up there on the company's Instagram page. I did the summer camp at University of Miami. They had a theater summer camp, and some of those pictures are still there. So looking back at it, it's during June. If I want to be more specific, that summer camp started June 9th, or at least when I went there, or that semester, that summer, it started on June 9th. Yeah, I've basically been in the industry, I would say, since June 9th, 2014, and it is currently June 14th, 2024. Wanted to do this video so and just reflect on everything I've done as an actor in the past 10 years, how that's made me grow as a person, how I've grown as an artist, how I've just grown, essentially. I did do some acting even before that, if I'm being honest, and I did a play in a elementary school play. I don't remember what grade I was in, but it was the Polar Express. That's what it was, the Polar Express, and I played one of the reindeers. And that was a fun experience, but if I'm being honest, I don't really remember much of it. The only two sparse things I remember of it was the fact that, for some reason, I remember one time after rehearsal, when me and my classmates went after rehearsal to our PE class, and then there was that, so I remember that, and then there was this one time where I got into a disagreement with the person who played Rudolph. Those are the only two things I actually remember from that, because I was in my childhood, when I was I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years old. So I did that, and then after that, I didn't really do any acting until about 2013, I want to say, late 2013, early 2014, where I did 2 short films with my best friend at the time, Eric Carcamo, and we did 2 short films. It was Cheese versus Pepperoni, which was filmed here at my house, actually in that living room, right here, the one that's over there, and then some of the stuff in my room as well. And then we also shot E Drums 98, which was an actual more of an actual short film, and both those experiences were fun. But it's not really something that made me want to pursue acting. It was one of those things yeah, this is fun. And by that point, I had already started to collect my movies, so I was getting into cinema in general. But for me, acting at that time wasn't something I wanted to really pursue. Again, I just started high school. I was a freshman in high school, and I just didn't have the mental capacity to think that far ahead for my life. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, before I started acting, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want my career to be? I would have said probably a businessman. I would have said something like in business, because they make money. They work with money, so they make money. That was literally my logic. So I would probably been a businessman. But my mom, she took me to this acting camp, acting class, acting summer camp in She signed me up for and I remember that when me and my mom still joke about this to this day, but I remember when she told me about that, I literally cried, because I thought my summer was ruined, because I wasn't allowed to stay home and watch YouTube and watch movies and TV. And I literally cried. I literally had a full-on tantrum. I literally cried at 13, 14 years old. That I was going to go to summer camp, because summer camp's for babies, and I'm an adult. I'm an adult. I'm a teenager. I'm in high school. I shouldn't be going to summer camp, because summer camp is for babies, and I don't want to do this. This is too much work. I don't want to go. I want to watch TV instead of making TV. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that I went to that summer camp, and I immediately just fell in love with the whole process. The summer camp was divided into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. They're each 3 weeks apart, or 3 weeks long. So part 1 was the first 3 weeks, and it was stuff that, it was the behind the scenes stuff of just stage, because it was theater acting. So it's acting, screenwriting, or playwriting, directing. It was stuff like that. That's what we did. There was also a bit of a musical element, some musical theater elements. So we did have a few dance classes and a few singing classes. We actually did a dance for our midterm showcase. We did a dance to Eye of the Tiger and Radioactive, a combo of those 2 songs. I wish I could still do them. I wish I remember how they were. That was a very fun summer camp. And at the end of the 3 weeks, because I was only signed up to do part 1. I wasn't signed up to do part 2. But at the end of part 1, when part 1 ended, I was supposed to go on a trip to Peru with my father. But I was just enjoying this so much, and I think that's the first adult decision I ever made in my life, were like, no, I want to do this. I want to do part two. So yes, that would mean more money, but whatever. But my mom could tell that I really wanted to do this, and we did part two. My dad was mad at first because I spent this money for this trip for him to go to Peru, and now he's not gonna go. Which I did go at the end of part two because he still had the tickets, and my sister was still gonna go. So it was yeah, supposed to be a family trip, but I stayed over to do the 3 more weeks, and those 3 more weeks were to put on an actual show or another showcase, but at their black box theater that they have in I remember for part two also, my stepbrother was basically forced to sign up. He wanted to do like a computer summer camps thing, or like a not computer engineering, but like computer coding stuff like that, and he had looked up classes for that, but his mom just didn't want him to do that. And since I was already taking classes at they just signed me up there because like, oh, that's a kid, so why not? And me and my stepbrother did become friends because of that. We grew apart later on because just again life, but at the time we did become friends, and I very much did enjoy that. And at the end of that showcase, we ended up doing a scene from The Princess Bride, which I had never seen The Princess Bride up until that point. I actually saw it as research for my performance there. Originally, I was cast as Wesley, and my stepbrother, he was cast as Vanzini, but we both kind of quickly realized that just didn't work for us, that we just the characters were not appropriate for us, so we ended up switching roles. So I ended up playing Vanzini, and he ended up playing Wesley, and we ended up doing the scene where he's trying to rescue Buttercup, and you have the two glasses there. Which one's the poison, which one's the poison drink, and Vanzini ends up taking the poison drink, and that's the scene we did. And it was us two and this girl called Melissa. We did that, and it was very fun. And well, my stepbrother, he did one short film in college, but aside from that, he never really came back to acting in general. But I stuck with it, and after that, I went to Area Stage. I went to Area Stage Company, and my time at Area Stage Company, it's mixed. I have a lot of mixed feelings with how I ended up at Area Stage and my time at Area Stage Company. I actually used to have video up on detailing my full experience at Area Stage. I put it on private mode just for personal reasons after the fact. Part of it had to do with the fact that I just didn't really explain myself or some of my troubles properly in that video. So I may redo that video in the future, but I also just don't care to talk about it that much. But all I'm going to say is that I didn't have the best time at Area Stage. I did learn a lot at Area Stage Company. I learned a lot about, how to perform monologues. I learned a lot about how to come into a scene, so to speak. I learned a lot about improv, yes and type of stuff. And I learned a lot about just gaining confidence. Those were all the positives I took from Area Stage. I'm not going to dwell on the negatives about Area Stage, but there were negatives. And I'm not going to beat around the bush about it. I just don't want to focus on that. But there were negatives on it. So my relationship with it is very fraught, and it's a lot more, at the end of the day, my experience at Area Stage was a lot more negative than positive. But I'd be a fool to just ignore the positive aspects that Area Stage gave me because I'm so focused on the negative, even if my time at the end really was negative at the end. So yeah, so I went to Area Stage and I actually did the internship at Area Stage for some time, and it's really during the internship phase that stuff really went downhill for me at Area Stage. And honestly, that's if people ask me why I don't support Area Stage, that's more of a personal thing that we could talk one-on-one, but I'm not going to discuss it here. But there's a lot of reasons I just personally do not fuck with Area Stage, and they're a very big theater company here. They're if you're down here, then they're about on the same level as something like Zoetic or Actors Playhouse, and honestly, from what I hear, I'm not the only person who's ever had bad experience with them. I bar none. Like I've heard negative stuff from like Zoetic or Actors Playhouse or this and that, but like bar none, the one I always hear complaints about, like for a lot is always Area Stage. I did Area Stage as an internship, and because of how I ended up there, or how my tenure ended there, after my internship from there, I quickly switched over to have an internship at FIU, Florida International University, under the theater department. And honestly, that was one of the best things that could have happened to me. I really loved it. I loved being there. I was there as an intern. I was working on their sets, building their sets, and that was great. That was great. And my one regret, my one regret, like looking back at it now, is I kind of wish I would have gone to some of the shows that were there at that time, and I almost wonder if I would have been able to get in for free or with a reduced price, because students who work on the shows, or just students from the department in general, they get a cheaper ticket, or like they get a discount on their ticket. Thing is, I wasn't technically a student, so I kind of just wondered how that would have gone. But regardless, I also had preview nights, which are free, and I kind of just wish I would have stayed for preview nights for those shows, because I heard they were all good shows. And I really wanted to go to FIU. I really wanted to go to FIU. It was great, especially after my experience at Area Stage as an intern. It was just great. This is where I wanted to go, and I didn't. Not at first. I got rejected from FIU. I did my audition for FIU, and I bombed it, essentially. I forget what the monologues I chose, because I chose 2 monologues, classical and contemporary. That's the word, classical and contemporary. And I know for the classical piece, it was that Cassio loves Journey, I do believe it. I know for the classical piece, it was that. I don't remember what I chose for the contemporary piece. I have a very faint idea, but I'm not completely sure, if I'm being honest. At the time, I did vlog my experiences at going to all these different colleges to audition for college. I did FIU, I did Juilliard, just so I could go to New York. Same thing with DePaul, because they were both doing it at New York. I just wanted to go to New York. I'm going to be honest, I just wanted to go to New York. So I did those 2. I did SUNY at Purchase, Cal Arts, so I did a bunch of schools, and I got rejected across the board. The only one that really upset me was not getting accepted into FIU, because I had been interning there. I was very excited to go there, and I didn't go there. And that was a hit to the gut. Eventually I went to Miami-Dade College, and honestly, me not getting into FIU at that time was the best thing that could have happened to me. I loved the fact I went to MTC, Miami-Dade College, Wolfson campus, and that was just great. Because honestly, I think I learned the most about me as an actor at Miami-Dade. I almost feel that if I had gone into FIU, yes, I would have still learned, but I don't think I really would have learned the stuff I needed to do, if that makes sense. Yes, I would have learned, but I don't think I really would have taken the steps to internalize all that knowledge, learn from it, and go forth as an actor. I feel I am actually a better actor at having gone to Miami-Dade, learn under Joshua Braun, and just be there in that environment. And this is during the time. Also, had I gone to FIU at that point, I would have graduated during the pandemic, straight up. So there's that too. But during this time, while doing the internships at Area Stage, during the internships at FIU, I was starting to get film roles. And that's when I did stuff like The Visitor, Within It, Museum. I auditioned for some of these roles, and I got them, or I did callbacks, and it was really good. It was really validating, because I felt yes, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And I think one of the things that helped, just to hop back to high school times for a bit, I had a teacher, Miss Caballero, and she was, I forget what the class was called, the official name of the class is, but it was basically one of those classes where you talk about a career class, essentially. And at the end of every 9-week semester, we were to make a presentation, a project, where we discussed a possible career choice that we wanted to do. And one of the career choices I wanted to do was, I put director at one point. I also put a writer at another point. But I know one. So yeah, I did 4 career choices. I forget in what order, but it was director, writer, actor, and then music producer. I'm a producer still. That's not music. I'm a film producer. But yeah, I don't know why I chose music producer, if I'm being honest. But yeah, but that's what I chose. I guess it kind of falls in line with the fact I did choose directing. I did choose writing. Granted, I chose novel writing, or journalism, really. And then of course I chose acting. I guess it's just amped that I chose acting at the end, because that's what it's just amped that I did projects on acting, I guess better said, because that's what I became at the end, an actor. And I just always looking back at the fact that I did projects on that, basically predicting or manifesting or whatever word you want to use to get me to this point, is just really cool looking back at it. But yeah, I went to MDC and I did a couple plays there at MDC. Some of them you could see here on YouTube, because I did post them. I did Church and State, I did Bulgarian Rhapsody, Influence, Warner Bros, I did Luna Gale. So I did a number of plays over there at MDC, and it was great. And my time at MDC, the first 2 years were really great, and then just a lot of things coalesced in mid to late 2019. Like I said, I was getting a lot of film roles during this time. Between 2017 and 2019, I was just getting a number of film roles. That's when I did stuff like Sick Minded, Debts Unpaid, a lot of these films that I was known for at the time. That's when my relationship with Jace Elton, my working relationship with Jace Elton started. And we did a bunch of fan films like Huge Driver, the Chucky films. I just had a huge come up, and that's also when I started doing my directorial debut. I did The Deal, which was very taxing. I was just doing a lot of projects. I was very motivated, and mid to late 2019, it just hit like a brick, like a real sudden brick wall. And everything just kind of stopped for me. And part of it was career wise, where from like one moment to another, I just wasn't getting any roles. I just wasn't getting contacted for stuff. It literally just stopped from one day to another. The other part of it was the fact that I was expected to graduate in 2019 from MTC. I actually graduated surprisingly late from MTC, and part of it was just because I had bad advisors, straight up. I had a series of very bad college advisors. They were telling me to take classes that I shouldn't have, that I didn't need to take, and stuff like that. So they were just screwing up my credits and whatever have you. So 2019, and between 2019 and 2020, I need to figure that out. The other thing that doesn't help with me is the fact that I have a very common name, Daniel Martinez. I don't have a middle name. It's just Daniel Martinez. There are many people, especially in South Florida, called Daniel Martinez. So that really screwed with my credits, because sometimes credits went to another Daniel Martinez. I'm like, no, those are my credits, and I had to figure out how to regain those credits, if I can even regain them to begin with, and that was just a very frustrating process. It's one of those things that when I graduated from high school and transferred over to college, some of my high school credits were actually lost in the process because of my name, Daniel Martinez, and I went to another guy called Daniel Martinez, and I tried to fight for, like, no, those are my credits. And really, the fact that I just had bad, it was a combination of bad advisors and my credits being stolen by other people with my name was what really delayed me in graduating from MTC. I didn't graduate from MTC officially till 2021. I was expected to graduate in 2019. I didn't officially graduate till 2021. Simple as that. And it's one of those things, like, even when it's one of those things when I transferred from MTC to FIU, I still wasn't graduated from MTC officially because of a language credit or a second language credit, because I needed to take a Spanish test, or officially I need to take a Spanish course. But I'm like, no, I'm not going to waste more time on a Spanish course when I know Spanish. I'm in Miami. Also because the teacher who teaches Spanish was just kind of dumb, and she did. And it's one of those things, like, Spanish. Let's be honest, Spanish is very racist at times, or just Spanish nationalities could just be very racist at times. And there's some places where, like, oh, you're not speaking proper Spanish if you don't speak this type of Spanish, as opposed to that type of Spanish. And that was kind of the situation I found myself in. Go figure. And so that's what kind of delayed me. So eventually I just took the test. It is what it is. I passed it. I barely passed it somehow. I got like because that's the thing. I needed to pass with a B or higher, and I barely passed. And I got I was right there on the border of a C and a B. And it's like, bro, I speak Spanish. I live in Miami, and my name is Daniel Martinez. It's one of those things I told one of the advisors, because there was a point where I needed to talk to, like, a board of advisors to explain to them why I was so delayed in taking this class or taking this test. And because for whatever reason they didn't believe me, and I remember I was straight up, well, yo, me llamo Daniel Martinez. Yo tengo un nombre que es súper común en Sudamérica. Yo estoy hablando con usted ahora en español. Yo vivo aquí en Miami. Mi mamá es colombiana, mi padre es peruano. ¿Cómo me iba a decir que yo no sé cómo hablar español? And that was very frustrating. But eventually I left, and then I found myself at FIU. And this was during the pandemic, where roles really weren't going anywhere. So what I did during the pandemic, as some of you guys saw, if you're following my career during this time, was that's when I started doing stuff like silent locale cinematics. That's when I did Quince. That's when I did The Deal. That's when I was doing stuff. That's when I really started to produce. That's when I helped produce Drew as an associate producer. That's when I helped produce The Mechanic as a distributing producer, or as an associate producer initially, but then I evolved into a distributing producer for that project. And that's when I became producer on Spending Some Time Together, which was arguably the biggest project I've ever done up until this point, both as an actor, as a producer, as a filmmaker in general. So yeah, those pandemic years were, like, really instrumental to my career. That's when I also did a bunch of other films that really helped boost my career, like Loose Ends, for example, being one of them. Frag, especially now that it premiered. And this whole time has just been although it's been very taxing, it's been very tough, it's also been a place of a lot of growth during this time. It's just crazy to think that this all happened in the past 5 years, because we're in 2024. So not really 5, in the past 3 to 4 years that the pandemic happened, and I've been able to grow so much. And yeah, then I went to FIU. And FIU was great. And it's one of those things that I'm kind of, again, and it kind of sucks to say this because I feel like I've been saying this about everything from MTC to area stage, that, it was good at the beginning and then something happened and it turned bad. But that's the simple fact of the reality. It was really good at the beginning and then it turned bad. And what happened is that I was very much on track to go for the BFA. I auditioned for the BFA. I thought I was going to get the BFA. Everybody wanted me to be in the BFA. The teachers wanted me to be in the BFA. The students, the BFA students at the time wanted me to be a BFA. Everybody wanted me to be a BFA. And it was one of those things that everybody would tell me that. They told me that if I was in the BFA, I would succeed exponentially and it would be a huge help to my career. It would be a huge help to me as an actor, as a professional to grow. And then I didn't get BFA. And I think that above any other rejection that I've ever gotten, that one was the one that hit the hardest because that's the one that I felt like I was supposed to have that one. That's the one where I felt I was supposed to have that one. And it didn't help that some of the people who did get accepted into the BFA were people who were like, why are they in the BFA? Yeah, like it's one of those things that everybody colloquially agree, like why are they, like even if they can't accept Daniel, why is that person in the BFA? It makes no sense that that person's in the BFA. And I heard that a lot. And that last year was a time of a lot of judgment, self-judgment. It didn't matter that I was doing some projects outside of the department. That didn't matter. It didn't matter that, I was doing stuff like Grave Intentions or Single in Miami, for example, Wise Guys versus Aliens. None of that mattered. Because it's one of those things that once I was at the department, everybody was judging me because I didn't get into the BFA. Because I had auditioned and I didn't get in. And there's a certain kind of stigma where if you audition for the BFA and you don't get in, people start looking at you differently. And a lot of people did start judging me. And because of that, I started judging myself. And of course, that wasn't appropriate. That wasn't right. But that was the simple fact of the reality. That's what happened. And so that first semester, because I still had to be at FAU for 2 more years. For 1 more year, so 2 more semesters. And so that first semester, I was very much struggling on what to do. Because, and yeah, that's basically, I was really struggling to find my place again. Especially because now I'm going to grow apart from my friends. A lot of my other friends who weren't BFAs, who were just BAs, were going to graduate by the end of that semester. So it was one of those things that I was very quickly going to be alone. And so I tried to cherish every single moment. I was a costume head for Greenbird, which is the play they produced, and that was a great show to be a part of. I actually really liked working on that show. It was kind of bittersweet, though, because it was one of those things like I wanted to be on that stage, and I knew I was never going to get the opportunity to do it. So, yeah. So, that was the fall semester. Cut to the spring semester, and that's when I basically kind of tried to leave my mark on FIU any way I can. I did Pericles, which was one of the best experiences I've ever had as an actor in general, one of the most fulfilling experiences I've ever done. I did Pericles. Telepresence Pericles, there's actually a whole documentary about it that I posted about it a few months ago, maybe even last year, whenever that came out. And then I posted here on my channel a larger segment of me talking about my whole experience on Pericles, because for that documentary, they only got like a few clips of it, like 30 seconds clips of it when I sent in a 10-minute video or whatever. So, you can find that whole discussion topic here on my channel. So I did Pericles, I did Stuff. Like, the play is literally called Stuff. And it was my theatrical directorial debut. And that was great. That was written by Chris Torres, who is a friend of mine. And, he's someone who knew very much I was struggling with the fact that I wasn't in the BFA. So he always tried to help me, whether it be like lending an ear or hearing me out, or in this case, helping me or, letting me direct a show. And I will admit there is a small part of me that feels like I kind of dropped the ball in doing that show from a pre-production standpoint, because I was just kind of stubborn in my ways. But eventually I got that figured out, and we did the show, and it was great. And honestly, because we did the show twice, 2 nights, and honestly, the first night was one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, because I was just so stressed out. I was so worried about how the show was going to be, and and just hearing the clap afterwards. Hearing the people's reactions afterwards to like certain lines or certain moments or certain beats, it just felt very validating. And I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of cry at that moment, and it was just great. having that. So I did those two things, and I also dramaturged for Airness, which is another play that we did. And for dramaturgy, it's basically being like the researcher for the play. Depending on the needs of the company, it also kind of involves marketing as well. And dramaturgy is something that I had kind of done back at MTC. Gonna do it a lot more for Dog Sees God, which is the play that we were gonna put on when the pandemic hit, and we never got to do it. So I was kind of doing dramaturgy for that already. And yeah, just my time between MTC and FIU, despite the fact that there are some bittersweet moments, there are some times of negativity, whether it be because of supposed friends at the time or because of just the role being so heavy or whatever. I just learned a lot. I mean, at MTC, I also basically became a stage manager. You know, for our summer short plays, I basically became a stage manager slash co-director for a lot of those plays, especially in 2019. I want to say, I want to say it's 2019 where I basically became the assistant director slash stage manager for the entire thing for all six of those plays. It was just which included the two I was in, Bulgarian Rhapsody and Warner Bros. And I was also part of the theater club at MDC, and basically me becoming a liaison between the theater club and some of the other clubs like Rotaract, for example, or the Pride Club, or the engineering club, like some of these other clubs, to see how we can network and connect. The one problem with the theater club at MDC is the fact that we were very much secluded. We were very much like to ourselves. Like we said that we wanted to interact with the other clubs, but realistically, looking at the people that were there at the time, they really didn't want to do that, which I always found weird because this is how we survive. And it got to a point where a lot of people thought I was actually the president of the club. And I'm like, no, I'm not on the president. Technically speaking, I'm not even on the board. I was vice president for a little bit, but stuff kind of went south very fast. And I still say I was unfairly ousted. It's one of those things like I'm the person who's always trying to get this club out there, and this is how I get repaid. Okay. And it's one of those things too. Like like I said, a lot of people thought I was a club president. I'm like, no, I'm not. Officially speaking, I'm not even on the board. So that was very frustrating. But yeah, it's one of those things. Despite all the frustrations, if I'm being honest, okay, let me get away from that. Despite all the frustrations that I had at both MTC and FIU, and even area stage, and even high school, and even on some of these sets, I still feel like I'm growing as a person. I still feel like I'm growing as an artist. I feel like especially in this past year, I'm doing some of the most rewarding work, or some of the most rewarding work that I've done up until this point is really coming out. Like you saw in my vlog last month, Frag is finally coming out, and I think that's honestly one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. Grave Intentions should come out later this year, I believe so, and that was really great. I've done other rewarding films in the past. Like I think the film with the best acting that I ever did. Sadly, it's never gonna come out, and that is Diary of a Vampire Stalker. And I'm kind of sad that it's not gonna come out, and that's because it was directed by Nelson Ricardo. And for those who don't know, he passed away. He passed away shortly after the film finished filming. And he died while it was editing. And of course, I was very upset that he died because how can he die? He was so young, and he just died. It just happens. That's the facts of life. And after some time, it hit me. Oh crap! That means this film is never going to come out, because he was editing this, and I honestly do think that is the best acting I've ever done in a film. So, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the thing with this industry. You have to take a lot of beatings, whether it be because of school, or a lot of rejections, or because a film is just not going to come out. You have to take a lot of beatings, but you also need to be strong and think that you're just gonna eventually this is gonna go on to greener pastures, so to speak. And right now, I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm really just trying to look out for the future and make sure that the work I do is the best work I can do at any point. Because I'll be honest, there was a time, especially like right before the pandemic, when my career took that dip in late 2019, and then into the pandemic, there was a for like a year and a half, I did kind of not care for what projects I did. Now that's not to say that I did a bad projects, because I loved the projects I did during this time, like like meeting Juan Jones, again, Wise Guys versus Aliens, Drew, again, which all of them just happen to be with McPree Productions, Alejo Vega of McPree Productions, which is another person I've done a great partnership with. Captive is actually a film that we're doing right now. It's in post-production, and that was between us two, or our two companies. Oh yeah, that's the thing. I have a company, Mart Productions. Mart Productions, and that's where all my work has been up until this point. I basically backtracked, I guess backtracked or backlogged some of the work I did even before Mart Productions. I just added it to my production company, like Philadelphia Here I Come, my interview series, for example, Cheese versus Pepperoni, E-Drums 98. So I kind of just added the DMAR label to those projects because I still have them, and I asked and I was allowed to. And now every single project I do up until this point that I direct, that I produce, is under DMAR Productions. So from the deal, which I kind of had to backtrack a bit, but like the deal is under my name, the mechanic, loose ends, and that's the thing. I'm also now producing projects of other people, spending some time together with Jay Selton, again, and some of his other films, like Night Lag, for example, just a bunch of these other films that I'm now producing. I'm a producer on because of my connections, and it's been great. And of course, I have my stuff I'm directing. Again, I have Keensit, which is under that banner, and Corner, Corner was actually the first thing I directed that wasn't written by me, if that makes sense. Like somebody gave me their script and I directed it for them, and that was great. So I've done that twice. I've done that with Corner, and I did that with Project Throttle, which I'll be honest, Project Throttle, not my best work, but hey, I got paid to do it. I think just my journey as a filmmaker, as an actor, as a creative has just really evolved from who I was just 10 years ago to who I am now. And I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I'm in the best place I am. I'm not gonna lie to you, because there's always those struggles that forget the career. You do have your everyday struggles, whether it be with your family or just daily life or just other work stuff. You do have those struggles, but I think career-wise, I'm starting to get back to a healthy place that I can call, like, yes, this is what I want to do. I think I'm getting back to that healthy place where I was back in 2018, 2019. And the thing is that I'm not getting as many roles as I used to, but that doesn't matter. That honestly doesn't matter to me anymore. Now, granted, it would be nice if I could get more roles, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things I've just come to accept, especially in the past year. I've grown a lot in that and trying to get out of that negative mentality, so to speak, and almost that clout chasing mentality and that need for validation mentality. And at this point, I'm just kind of doing whatever feels right to me and just kind of going where the wind takes me. Granted, that always doesn't work out because La Familia happens, and that was atrocious in so many ways. I actually rewatched La Familia last week just out of curiosity to see if is this really that bad of a movie, or is my straight up hatred, because I'm not gonna lie, I hated that whole experience, but is my straight up hatred for that experience really blinding me to what that movie is? And if I'm being completely objective, La Familia, it's just a bad movie. It's just simply a bad movie, and it's the fact that I had that negative experience that just really tanks that movie for me. I did try to give a good performance at first. After a while, I kind of just said fuck it because I stopped caring, and that kind of, in a weird way, La Familia, despite the fact how much I hated that experience, I also kind of liked what it taught me about me as an actor, because my professor Joshua Braun, he kind of, there was a project that I did with this actress where she wasn't giving it her all. She was not giving 100%. She was barely memorized, and it really pissed me off. And because she wasn't trying, I wasn't trying. So my professor Braun, he basically told me something to the effect of, it doesn't matter if they're not trying. You should always try. You should always shine. At the end of the day, this industry, this career is all about you. You always want to be the best. If they're not trying, that's actually better for you. So that gives you more space to showcase who you are as a creative, as an actor. And I honestly really took that to heart. And I kind of wish I would have applied that more to La Familia. To be fair, I want to say to be fair, but at the same time, it's also one of those things that there's really no excuse for it. I really should have tried more on La Familia as an actor at the very least, despite the handicaps I was given on that project. But that's just a simple fact of reality. Overall, again, as you can tell from this video, the journey hasn't been easy, but it's not supposed to be easy. This industry is all about validation. This industry is all about rejection. Whether you're an actor, a director, a writer, a producer, even a gaffer, even a PA, it doesn't matter. This industry is all about rejection. This industry is all about validation. It just really comes down to how you handle it. And as you can tell from this whole video, there's been times where I haven't handled that rejection or need for validation in the appropriate manner. But I think I'm finally now at a place where I can hold myself accountable. And I am able to go forth as the person I want to be. Of course, I'm still going to struggle. That's just the simple fact of life, the simple reality of it all. But I think I'm finally at a point where I can finally go on. And I've done so many incredible projects. In these 10 years, I've done so many incredible projects. I haven't even brought up Single in Miami. You know, there's Single in Miami, for example. That was another fun project. Wise Guys vs. Aliens was another fun project that's unpaid. I just did Soap last month. That was a great project to be a part of. You know, Lights, Camera, Disaster. After, I also did Primal Fear with her, with Poseidon Films. That was two great films to be a part of. Honestly, Poseidon Films. She is one of the best people, like directors I've ever worked with, period. And I love her. She's really great. And, you know, and honestly, like, I've just done so much in this industry in the past 10 years. And I'm just kind of excited to see what I see do in the next 10 years. You know, I've also been part of film festivals. And not that I've submitted a film to a film festival and like, oh yeah, my film went to a film festival, which I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I just kind of become numb to that. But no, I've been on the board of film festivals, you know, and I went to Vegas for it. I worked on MISIFI, Miami International Science Fiction Film Festival, before the pandemic, and I was on the board for that as their social media director. And, you know, I've gone to a bunch of film festivals here, you know, and been able to network and meet so many incredible people. Again, Jace and Alejo, but I've met Mariah Kilmon, rest in peace, you know, and Stephen Alfie, for example, and Mac Chop Kenny, Jack Kiersky, and a bunch of these other great, incredible, creative people that I've been able to meet, network with, work with, all of the above, and it's just been great. Like I said, there have been negative experiences, whether it be at Area Stage, or FIU, Miami-Dade, or, you know, even working on some of these film festivals when I went to Vegas. Not gonna lie, not my shining moments. To be fair, the guy who runs it, kind of a dick, very much a dick. A lot of people knew he was a dick. Besides the point, still a dick. But, you know, even that was still fun. Like, I still enjoyed going to Vegas. Okay. Again, even if that experience at the end of the day is bittersweet, I'm trying to focus more on the sweet part of it than the bitter part of it, if that makes sense. And, you know, I've just done so much in these past 10 years. And like I said, I'm just excited to see where I go in the next 10 years. And the future is just greener pastures, I guess, or whatever that expression is, you know. I know I need to get updated headshots. Like, I've been needing to get updated headshots for like a couple years now, to be honest. Because my headshots are from 2017, 2018. Give or take. I haven't really changed that much, but you still need to update. That's the thing. You need to update your headshots every like 2 to 3 years, which I just think is kind of ridiculous. I have a whole rant on my channel about headshots and like why they're overrated, but that's besides the point. But I know this year I am gonna update my headshots. I was supposed to have them updated last year, but I got robbed, essentially. If you guys saw that video, yeah, I'm gonna try update my headshots for sure this year. I'm also gonna try update my reels, my core acting reel, and then I think at this point I have enough stuff to do some more separate reels, because right now I only have two reels. One of them is my general acting reel, and the other one is like a stunt reel, which I kind of just did for fun, if I'm being honest. But I think now at this point I have enough footage to do a general acting reel, then a dramatic reel, and a comedic reel. So I can have those 3 reels, and I think that would really do that. And then I want to get signed to an agency. The problem is that just South Florida agencies down here are, honestly, they suck. I'm not gonna lie. They suck. And I've met with a bunch of them, and they always reject me. And I'm not offended by the rejection. I'm more offended by the reason why they reject me, because it makes no sense to me. And their reasons has always been like, oh, you haven't worked in this industry long enough, and you haven't done that much work. However, if you look at my IMDb profile alone, I've done more work than a bunch of their clients or a bunch of the talents that they have signed, and they're the ones who are actually giving them work. I just want to say I get more work being by myself, being freelance, than I've done with an agency. But the thing is that I do need an agency to get me to that next step, and at the very least, you know. So that's the one thing I've been trying to do for the past, since honestly the pandemic, even before the pandemic, but the pandemic kind of put a stop to that. And yeah, again, I've met with a bunch of agencies down here, but it's always the same excuse too. Like, oh, you haven't been in the industry long enough, and you haven't done enough jobs, or you haven't done enough roles. I'm like, really? Do you not see this? You know. So that's the one thing that honestly really frustrates me. Again, it's not the rejection; it's just a reason for the rejection, because it's like, really, but you have this guy who literally only has 3 credits. He's been with you for the past 2 years and hasn't booked anything. And then there's me, who literally has over 100 credits, and I'm able to book stuff at least once a month to do something, And it's just very frustrating. So there's that. So hopefully I get signed to an agent at some point. If I want to get signed to an agent sometime, hopefully this year. I'm trying to look into Orlando agencies, something like in Central Florida, to help me out, possibly, because I think that'll be the way. But I still need to figure that out. But that's whatever the future holds. We'll see what happens. But yeah, those are currently my plans. And yeah, I just wanted to do this quick retrospective, 10 years in this industry, from starting off as an actor to becoming a director and producer and writer, and just my journey through it all, from how I first started to my time at MDC and Area Stage and FIU and doing the film festivals and everything, the whole shebang. This isn't going to be the only video I do in regards to this topic. This whole month, it's basically going to be a anniversary thing. So think of this as a part 1. Part 2 is going to come out next week, and it's basically going to be me reacting to some of the videos I have here on my channel that help further that journey, to help further explain that journey. And then 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be doing another video where it's going to be like my top 20 or top 25 favorite projects that I've done, and I could really go into the nitty-gritty of some of these projects that maybe I forgot to mention right now, but I'll mention them there. And yeah, just this whole month, I kind of just want to celebrate the fact that I've been in this industry for 10 years. So let's celebrate it. But, I want to start off with this video being honest about how this journey has been, both the good and the bad, and just be real with you, be completely honest with you, and just go from there. So yeah, thank you for hearing me out. Stay tuned for next week, where I'll do the reaction videos. And that's basically it for now. This is Daniel Mart, signing off.